Morning everybody, Saturday the 28th of June and just out having a look at some works here. Let me explain. So this is a 60 odd hectare block of winter wheat, the other side of the road. I think that's quite a big field, it's 19 hectares, something like that. These two here goes round this one on the other side, and we use a lot of Digestate. Now I'm not sure, we're going to have to zoom right in, but just on the horizon there you can see, there we go, in the middle of shot there's some grey roofs of some buildings. That's where the yard is for this block, and the farmyard is no longer available to the arable operation, so that's a separate enterprise now. And historically we've applied Digestate here. So one of the issues we've had is how to get the Digestate sort of in the middle of the block. So this is our trial solution, a bit like the compost, where we've been trying to figure out how to get the lorries off the highway in order to minimize our expenditure, transport expenditure. Same here. So let me just pivot round and show you what we've done. So this pad has been aligned with the headland tram line of the field. So as you can see there, and as we swizz round this side here. So the idea is that the lorry can back in off the road and stay on the pad, and the snorkel of the Digestate spreader can dip into the back of the lorry here. So this pad extends all the way to the road, and we've also, to enable the lorries to turn off the highway, we've also done some work on the verges. Just had to shut the Labrador in the field there for a second. So as you can see, it's quite a rural road, so we've tidied the verge up here so that he's got a nice sweep into the field. Look at this beautiful verge here. Now this pole, we'll talk about this in a moment as well. So sweep around here. So historically people might say, well, why didn't you just load directly off the highway? Well, as you can see, these power lines are our issue. So as you see, the power lines run sort of directly above the gateway. So if the lorry sort of pulled off to the side of the highway, which is definitely possible, they've got a nice wide verge there. The issue is still that the snorkel couldn't get in the lorry without getting very close to the HV cables. So hence why we've put this pad in. So our hope is now that we can pull lorries in. It's quite a central location, and we can better utilize the Digestate. Whilst we're here, it's probably worth just having a quick look at the winter wheat. So it's spring wheat in the background, winter wheat in the foreground. Now there's a bit of a grass area bordering the woodland. We're actually considering that as a possible reversion back to arable. There's issues with keeping sheep on it, so we are considering what other options we have. And here on this side of the hedge, this field's quite interesting. This is a field that we weeded in February as a bit of a trial. It was the field that provided the inspiration for nitrogen release, and subsequently we rolled out weeding on the spring wheats during the peak of the drought in order to try and release some nitrogen through mineralization. And the original reason for doing this is last year we had a weeding trial in the spring wheat which demonstrated about a 50% reduction in black grass heads, and for every black grass head we dropped, we got an ear of wheat in response. So that was really good for spring wheat, and we now do spring wheat weeding as a standard across all of our spring wheats. However, winter wheat, completely different. The black grass is well rooted and well established, so we just wanted to use this field whilst we were here weeding all of the spring wheats. We thought we'd take the opportunity to just do a trial. We don't think it had much effect on black grass numbers, something we will check. However, it did have a massive effect on greening and nitrogen availability. We're reckoning about 60 to 80 kilos of N. Now, considering the SNS score of these fields, they only have about, because it's chalk, let me show you. You can see here, it's very dry, sort of chalky. There's no body to it. So because these fields have an SNS score of about 60, it doesn't really make sense that all of that 60 kilos of N could be liberated with one scratch of the weeder. However, that's sort of what we've seen. So we rolled out weeding, mid-season weeding across all of our spring wheats in order to try and generate mineralisation despite the drought. It was the sort of learning lesson we took away from this field. And interestingly, I would say this field looks pretty clean. So what I'm hoping is I'll come out later and do a head count. But what I just wanted to show you is in these tram lines, just how much black grass there still is. And if we go into the crop, there are some heads occasionally. Look at this one, and these they are dropping their seeds already. Hang on, there you go, half the seeds have gone already. But really, it's just a sprinkling of black grass. It is light land, it doesn't really grow strong black grass. Having said that, there's a valley that runs sort of down this field and then down to the oak tree and then across the bottom of this field, and that really does grow some good black grass. So I haven't got my square with me this morning. Hopefully I can come back tomorrow, do some head counts, and we can see if this year's weeding in the winter wheat had an effect on head count, and then we can follow it through to combining and see what happens, what the effect is on yield. Morning everybody, so I'm back. It's Sunday morning, got my trusty square with me. Let's go out and count some heads. So currently I'm standing in a tram line, just going to walk out a little bit. We know that this bit was weeded, so we'll throw a square out here. Okay, so that's done. I've taken 2 squares. First 2 are in the weeded section and the second 2 are in the unweeded section. So we will do a head count in those. What was quite telling is just how thin the crop was. I mean, I wasn't anticipating that, but when I threw down a square, it wasn't even strong enough. The crop wasn't even strong enough to support the weight of the square. Quite thin, but similar to other social media channels, I can confirm ears look really big. This crop, it was over 30 degrees yesterday, and this crop really has started to go off quite strongly now. Ears are turning, so I shall report back when we return. We'll be very close to harvest, I would have thought. The AHDB Wheat Growth Guide suggests aiming for 400 ears per metre squared, so it looks like we've achieved that target ear count despite the crop looking thin. Considering this soil is thin over a chalk bedrock, it has done well to produce 400 heads in such a dry year. However, I would note there are a significant number of small heads, almost abortive tillers, in a lower canopy, which I have included in the count. Regarding the trial, 404 in the weeded versus 416 in the unweeded. So it looks like we took out some tillers in the weeding process, which is disappointing. However, if 60 kilos of nitrogen was made available as a result of the weeding, and those weaker secondary tillers were the tillers lost, maybe it won't result in yield loss. Either way, we will follow this through to yield and find out.